One October evening in 2016, in a quiet corner of Arkansas, a farmer named Mike Wallace sat in his pickup truck, waiting for a meeting. He wasn't expecting danger, only a business discussion with another grower about herbicides. But moments later, a second vehicle pulled up, words were exchanged, and within seconds, Wallace was shot dead. His death was not about money or a feud over land. It was about chemicals, seed contracts, and the power of one agricultural company whose reach extended from the field to the courtroom. The story of Wallace is not just about a man's life cut short. Honestly, it's a window into a system where farmers are told they cannot do something as old as farming itself, save the seeds from one harvest to plant the next. To understand how this came to be, we need to dig into history, law, and corporate power, because the truth is stranger and darker than most people realize. For thousands of years, farmers had no one to answer to but the soil, the seasons, and their own labor. Every harvest brought not only food but also the seed for the next planting. This simple cycle made communities self-sufficient and allowed entire civilizations to rise. Ancient Sumerians, medieval peasants, and American homesteaders alike saved seeds in clay jars, wooden bins, or even their pockets. Seed saving was more than practicality, it was culture. Families passed down varieties, carefully selecting plants that thrived in their region. The result was an immense biodiversity, thousands of unique strains of wheat, rice, corn and vegetables adapted to every climate. But in the 20th century, this tradition collided with a new concept, intellectual property rights over life itself. Once laws allowed plants to be patented, the seed was no longer just a seed. It was a product owned by someone else and bound by contracts as strict as any industrial patent. The turning point came in 1930 with the United States Plant Patent Act. For the first time, breeders who created a new plant variety could claim ownership of it. The intent sounded fair enough: encourage innovation in agriculture the way patents encouraged innovation in machines. But while early patents were few and mostly limited to specialty crops, the idea planted a seed of its own. By the late 20th century, especially with advances in biotechnology, companies realized they could not only breed but also genetically engineer plants. These were not the open pollinated varieties of old, but crops specifically designed to resist herbicides, grow faster, or yield more. To protect these investments, companies patented the seeds and required farmers to sign agreements that they would buy new seed each year instead of saving their own. The legal logic was clear. Just as you can't copy a movie or manufacture a smartphone without permission, you can't replant a patented seed. But for farmers, this clashed directly with thousands of years of tradition. The act of saving seed, once the essence of independence, was now a breach of contract. The company that came to symbolize this system was Monsanto. Originally a chemical manufacturer, it shifted focus in the 1970s to agriculture with its blockbuster herbicide Roundup. The next step was even more profitable: engineering crops that could survive heavy applications of Roundup. These Roundup-ready soybeans and corn swept across American fields in the 1990s. But Monsanto didn't just sell the seed. Every farmer who purchased it had to sign a technology agreement. That contract explicitly prohibited saving seeds from the harvest. If a farmer tried to plant those seeds, they risked lawsuits, fines, or being blacklisted from buying again. Monsanto employed investigators, some called them seed police, to enforce these rules. The result, was staggering consolidation. By the 2000s, Monsanto controlled more than 80% of United States corn and soybean seed sales. Competitors were either bought out or forced to license Monsanto's genetics. What had once been a diverse, locally adapted seed economy became, a monopoly guarded by patents and lawyers. The impact of this monopoly wasn't just theoretical. Hundreds of farmers found themselves in courtrooms, accused of replanting patented seeds. Some were, honestly, guilty of intentionally trying to save money by reusing seed. Others claimed they had been caught by accident, like when wind or pollinators carried patented pollen into their fields. One famous case involved a Canadian farmer, Percy Schmeiser, whose canola fields were found to contain Monsanto's patented genes. Schmeiser argued it was accidental cross-pollination. Monsanto insisted he had knowingly replanted their seed. The case dragged on for years, eventually reaching the Canadian Supreme Court, which in the end sided with Monsanto. The precedent was chilling. Even if patented traits landed in your field without consent, the company could still claim rights over your crop. For farmers already struggling with tight margins, the fear of litigation added enormous pressure. Many saw no choice but to comply, buy new seed every year, and stay on the good side of the corporations. For history enthusiasts and survivalists, the implications are clear. The shift from open-pollinated seed saving to patented dependency represents more than a legal battle. It's a transformation of agriculture from a decentralized tradition to a centralized industry. A farmer in 1850 could store away wheat seed for decades and feed his family regardless of market conditions. A farmer in 2025 may be contractually bound to buy from a handful of global giants every season. This has real consequences in crisis scenarios. If supply chains break down, farmers who rely entirely on patented seeds may find themselves without planting material. In contrast, those who preserve heirloom and open-pollinated varieties can continue the ancient cycle of saving and replanting. It's not only cheaper, but also a safeguard against dependency. For the home gardener, this lesson is equally valuable. Buying heirloom seeds and practicing seed saving ensures you control your food source year after year. It also preserves genetic diversity at a time when commercial agriculture favors uniformity. A simple act like fermenting tomato seeds in a jar, drying them and planting them the next spring is a small rebellion against the system that tells farmers they can't. Seed patents alone would not have reshaped farming so completely without the support of governments and trade agreements. International treaties like the Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights, or TRIPS, spread these restrictions worldwide. Countries that once allowed free seed saving had to conform to global standards protecting patented seeds. At the same time, regulators often looked the other way when corporations pushed aggressive herbicide and seed packages. Reports of health risks, environmental harm, or farmer suicides in countries like India were frequently dismissed or downplayed. The story of Mike Wallace in Arkansas is one of many examples where disputes over seeds and chemicals escalated into violence. The cycle feeds itself. Farmers who can't save seed must keep buying companies reinvest profits into lobbying, and patents and the legal barriers grow thicker. What began as a tool to encourage innovation has become a weapon to enforce dependency. Looking at this story in the long arc of history, it's clear that controlling the seed has always been a form of controlling people. Ancient empires stored grain in state granaries to exert power over populations. Medieval landlords required tenants to use their seed stock to maintain loyalty. Today, patents and contracts serve the same purpose. The methods differ, but the principle is unchanged. For those interested in preparedness, sovereignty, or simply understanding how we got here, the lesson is urgent. Protecting the practice of seed saving, whether in backyard gardens or community seed banks, is a form of resistance. It ensures that knowledge and independence survive, even in a world where corporations claim ownership over life itself. The story of why farmers can't legally replant their own seeds is not just about agriculture. It's about law, monopoly, and the clash between ancient human traditions and modern corporate control. From the Arkansas fields where a farmer was killed, to the courtrooms where growers fight lawsuits, to the gardens where ordinary people quietly save heirloom seeds, the battle continues. If history teaches us anything, it's that control over food equals control over survival. And the simple act of keeping a seed from one season to the next remains one of the most powerful ways to resist dependency. If you found this investigation valuable, make sure to subscribe to Hydrohaven and share this video with others who care about history, survival, and truth. The more we understand these hidden stories, the better prepared we are for the future.